Good morning. I'm Mark Pattison. I'm going to open up the October meeting of the New York State Cemetery Board. Welcome you all to this fabulous October day, at least in Albany. Before we start the business, let me just ask our council to explain the rules in which we are operating under. We are here in person. We only have 2 of the 3 board members. And while I would do that, we'll just introduce Tom.
Yeah, this is Tom Fuller, representing Dr. Howard Zucker for the Department of Health.
Okay, and Mark Pattison, representing Secretary of State Rosano. No Favor, who represents the Attorney General. The teacher, James, is unable to attend, but we have one of the 2. So, okay, Rod, you want to talk about the... Let me also just say, if you can mute your line when you're not speaking, that makes life a lot easier. I heard some background noise. It would be much appreciated. I guess we can mute you.
Thank you very much, Mark. My name is Rob Vanderbless. I'm from the Office of General Counsel and also to the Cemeteries and Cemetery Board. We operate in pursuant to Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which permits the Cemetery Board to meet and take action authorized by law without permitting public in-person access to meetings, and permits such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to the meeting. Such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. The Cemetery Board has chosen to permit public in-person access to the Albany location. While we've provided public notice that includes the information necessary for the public to view this meeting remotely, the meeting is being recorded. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, please check to see if your line is muted. I'm hearing background noise on somebody's, and I can't.
I just texted him.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I think that worked. Right. So, can we review the minutes of previous meetings? The previous meeting was distributed with the board packet. Does anybody have any questions, corrections, suggestions to that?
No changes.
Geez, ever since Lewis has been taking the minutes, go right through them.
It helped that maybe it helped that I did it at the last minute this time.
I don't know. I think it probably has to do more with the scrutiny being given them. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as mailed.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion minutes are approved. We have a legislation and regulation report from our counsel, Rob Vanderbless.
Thank you, Mark. No legislative update. In terms of the abandonment regulations, the notice of proposed rulemaking was published in the September 29th State Register. Comments will be received for 60 days until November 29th, 2021. 60th day fell on a Sunday. And after which we'll review and assess the public comments and then either adopt those regulations through notice of adoption, withdraw, or if we are proposing substantial revisions, there will be a notice of revised rulemaking with a new opportunity to comment.
Great. Okay. That feels like progress, even though it takes its own time. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of our counsel on his report? Okay. And just a special note, Rob's about to have a second child momentarily in a couple days, so congratulations. We'll hopefully not see you till December, January, whatever it is that you come back.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Division report, Lewis?
But not too much to report. Number 1, if you go to our website and you scroll down on the left-hand side, there's a tab for cemetery operators. Click on that. You will find a series of new forms. There are 3 forms available for common applications to the board. They are for columbarium and mausoleum applications, for major alterations, otherwise known as major renovations, and for permanent maintenance fund loans. Note that that one's for an application for a recommendation from the board. Only a court can, oh, I'm off camera. Only a court can give a can give an actual approval of a loan from a permanent maintenance fund or grant. Sorry, the form covers loans or grants. There are also 3 supporting schedules. Schedule A for income, expenses, and fund balances, which we've already been using. That's now available for download. You don't have to have us email it to you. Schedule B, which is specifically for major alterations in columbarium and mausoleum projects that allows you to, that's a calculation of return on investment. And Schedule C, which is called a schedule, even though it's not really a schedule, it's additional information for any time there is a related party transaction. There's a transaction involving related parties, I should say, that's being submitted to the board for review. Schedules A and C can be used with any type of board application, even the ones we don't yet have forms for. Schedule B is really specific to the things that are on the website. Now we're working on, the next couple forms we're working on are going to be for retort replacement and crematory expansion / new crematories. And then we'll be working on forms for land transactions, or at least checklists or guidelines for land transactions. It's not clear whether those really lend themselves to a form. We've been playing with different ideas, but how to approach that. But those should be rolled out hopefully in the next couple of months, not anytime imminent. But the ones that we've got up there now are probably the most common things we see other than retort replacements. And hopefully, it should make it more transparent as to what the board expects from applicants. And hopefully also, it will make it easier and quicker for us. It's going to be a little more work on the front end for a cemetery, but it should make it easier and quicker for us to review the applications when we get them. The only other update I have is on staffing. I'm pleased to announce that we have 2 staff members we have 2 vacancies that we believe have been filled. We had 2 people accept our offers, one for associate accountant. We've had no accountant supervisor for a year and a half. A year and a half? No.
A year, almost a year.
About 9
Joe,
months. 9 months. Joe retired in January, February. No, almost a year. Joe retired during Christmas. So we filled that position, and we've also filled the administrative assistant position here in Albany. Both candidates are supposed to start October 28th, and hopefully, since they'll be based here, you can meet them at the November meeting.
Okay.
And that is all I have.
I just
Oh, sorry, I do have one more thing. On Mount Olivet, I have not yet received the audit report. It is possible that we might need that special meeting, since we could get it today, or we should get it very soon. It is possible we will need that special meeting for the board just to extend their time to respond. I'm anticipating getting that report any day now, in which case we may not need additional time, but we might. Unless it's not on the agenda. Rob, would it be out of order when we get to agenda items to present that and just extend the deadline at this meeting? I think everyone's familiar with what's going on.
I see no issue with it if the only proposed action would be to extend the deadline.
Yes.
Otherwise, I think,
I think that,
Okay, in that case, let's hold that thought, and when we finish the regularly scheduled agenda, before we go, because I realize if we're not going to have that special meeting in October, which now looks like we might not, then then their deadline will lapse before we meet again.
Okay.
So we ought to push it out at least till the end of November. But let's just put that aside for now. That's.
I would think that if the board approved, added to the agenda, took that action, we'd be a pretty safe bet.
probably be fair, yes.
Okay.
The only person who's going to challenge us is them, and they would want this. So.
I'm fine. So the one thing I would just add to the forums discussion is that this process started a long, long time ago in a far, far away land, as they say in fairy tales, and we went through a lean process, which is a process intended to streamline and simplify business processes. We wanted to make it easier for cemeteries, more predictable for cemeteries to know what we wanted, and so that we could review them more quickly. But as always, it's taking a long time. It's a work in progress, and so, continuous improvement. We are anxious to hear from cemeteries about how it's going. We certainly want to provide training to cemeteries about how to use the forms, and then we'll collect feedback. And while it is a little clunky to change a form, we are glad to do it if it makes the process work better for everyone. So just because they're out and up doesn't mean we're not open to change. And again, continuous improvement is our goal there. So does anybody else have questions of Luce's report? Okay, thank you. Do we have a report on the vandalism fund?
Yes. So collections are the same as they were last month. The calendar year vandalism collections are $567,908. Assessment collections are $318,361. Fiscal year collections from April 1st, 2021. Vandalism $136,083. Assessment $75,436. Payments from the $2 million 2021-22 vandalism fund appropriation include the first 25% payments and 175% payment for the 10 applications approved so far, totaling $120,726.44. There remains $108,254.84 of funds committed for the 2018-19 and 2019-20 applications, and $165,471.23 committed for applications approved in the fiscal year 2021. Currently, there are 7 applications in the pipeline for approval, totaling $162,130.95, and there is 1 application on the agenda for this meeting, totaling $90,357.98. We have granted 10 applications for restorations this year at $381,798.46. Annual reports, we have received 1,408, 502 online, representing 36% of the total applications received.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Anybody have any questions of Alicia's report? Okay. We have 1 application to the fund from Pierpont Cemetery in St. Lawrence County in the amount of $9,357.98. Is there someone from the staff who can present that application?
So Mike Seelman prepared this. I do not believe he's able to join us today.
I'm here.
No, you are there. I thought the cremation training was now.
Cindy's doing that.
Nope, I'm not at the cremation training. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Go nuts.
Okay, this is Mike Zillman from the Division of Cemeteries. Pierpont Hill Cemetery is a small rural cemetery in St. Lawrence County. They applied for repair of 19 monuments. I went up and looked at the monuments and found that all 19 of them appeared to be hazardous. They're either loose or tipping at dramatic angles. They got their 2 estimates to repair. The lower of the 2 estimates was for $9,248. The only thing really interesting about this, or not interesting, but different, is that the lower of the 2 estimates includes precast concrete foundations. I've recommended approval in the amount of $9,357.98. That includes the legal notice. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions?
Oh, thank you, Mike. Anybody have any questions of this report?
Yeah, I'm just curious why the second estimate was more than double the first estimate. Is that just because of the way the foundations are being done?
Yeah, the lower of the 2 estimates is for the precast. So the foundations are actually poured at a concrete plant, and then they're delivered to the cemetery and versus the higher of the 2 estimates, where they would go and they would dig a hole and they would pour the concrete right into the ground. It was explained to me that it's more efficient to, create them at a concrete plant and then transport them there. And that accounts for the lower cost.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the application of Pierpont Hill Cemetery in St. Lawrence County for the amount of $9,357.98 to repair dangerous monuments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mark, if I could just
Oh,
suggest,
yes, please, sorry.
no problem. Just suggest that if the board does approve it, to make it subject to the availability of funds.
Yes, thank you. I sort of gotten lazy about that. So I'll amend my motion to approve this subject to the availability of funds. We've carried that over. And it's seconded, motion amended, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion, application is approved. Thank you, Rob, and we do this right. We have 4 other things on the agenda. 2 are major renovations, and 1 land purchase, and 1 report. Do you want to take the Pine Lawn Cemetery ones
Sure.
together, or in order, or?
Yeah, so Pine Lawn has submitted 2 applications. One of them, for some reason, they're phrasing as an amendment to a previous application. I'm not sure that that's really a fair characterization. It's sort of related to it. It doesn't actually matter. But it only matters in the resolution. And the other is a whole new application. So Pine Lawn, the board previously, taking them in order, the board previously approved an application, and on August 2020, the board previously approved an application for, among other things, a repaving project where they were going to do curb work and repaving of a road. There's a parking area in the same vicinity that they want to expand to now moving closer to the road. While they have the guys coming in with blacktop and curbs, they figure it makes sense to expand this parking area. Pine Lawn has plenty of parking, but it also has plenty of land. And by expanding this parking area down a bit, they're planning for future needs, like large funerals, despite their parking, still are going to tax things a bit. They're not going to use this land for anything. They don't have any burials right in front of the cemetery by the office. They probably never will. So while they're doing the one project, it makes sense to do the other. The cost is minimal, $22,000, and while they're mobilized, it makes sense to do it. The second piece of this is that the cemetery wants to install a wash station, which apparently captures the water from washing cemetery equipment. It's not just the car wash, they can bring in diggers and stuff like that. And they're able to capture the water, so the runoff isn't going into the groundwater, which is a little problematic because they use rainwater. And I think they're able to capture and reuse at least some of that water from that runoff for other purposes. It's a somewhat more expensive project, but it's going to take place within their maintenance area, which you'd be hard pressed to find. And even if you did find it, you can't really see what goes on in there, so it'll have no discernible impact on a lot of visual impact on the owners. If anything, it'll make things a little better, because if you're hosing something down, that runoff is going into the ground, whereas this is capturing it on a pad. So those are the 2 projects. That one, let me get the cost. The cost of that one is $97,100. Is it $97,140?
Okay. Rob, do you have anything to add to those? You can take it one at a time.
So my understanding is that the washdown station does require a building permit, which my recollection from the write-up is not yet secured, so if the board does approve it, to make such approval contingent upon the cemetery securing a building permit, we'll comment.
I don't believe the other project requires any permits.
Oh, I think I'll add that to both anyway. So I'll take them one at a time. I'll make a motion to approve the application. Any other questions to this? No, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the application of Pine Lawn Cemetery for a amendment to their earlier major renovation application to expand the parking area for $22,000 thereabouts, subject to receipt of any other municipal permits that are required. Do you have a second?
Second.
Anything else to say differently?
You can condition it, but I don't think there are any permits.
I did that just as a pro forma. Thank you, Liz. And I did condition it. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'll make a motion to approve the application of Pine Lawn Cemetery for a major renovation for a washdown station, which in the amount of $97,000. Again, subject to receipt of any necessary municipal approvals or permits. Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Application is approved. We have an application from Warren Cemetery for a land purchase. We have some folks from Warren Cemetery here, so I think what I'd like to do is just have the staff present the application, then ask the board members if they have things to add, and then we'll ask any other questions or discussion. Rob can weigh in at that point. All right?
When you want to start
Doug,
out?
just
Yeah, I'll start. We have Warren Cemetery, which is a small rural cemetery in Rensselaer County. They're seeking approval to purchase 3.29 acres of land for $8,225. Currently, it consists of 2.51 acres, so this would be more than doubling their current acreage. And in order to continue operations, the cemetery would need this land for future lot sales. According to the trustees, there's no lot left for sale. I have observed open space within the cemetery. Whether or not that is lots that have previously been sold to lot owners that may never use that land, it's a possibility of to reacquire that land for future lot sales, but in any case, there's no lots left for sale, so they would need this land to continue to operate. And, so that's pretty much it for. It is adjacent to the cemetery, the current cemetery property, and there's 253 feet of road frontage. The land is level, fairly level, and it is all clear, so there's no development cost anticipated with the purchase of this, which is very helpful. It's all cleared already, so it would just entail a survey to lay out lots for future lot sales if they were to acquire this land. The land is surveyed, and my only question regarding this survey, I have a copy of the survey here, and instead of getting the land, the small 3.29 acres of land surveyed, the cemetery had the whole surrounding, the seller, Jane Parsons, owns several acres of property around the cemetery on the other side, so the survey included all of her land, not just the 3.29 acres of the cemetery would like to acquire, which increased the cost of the survey significantly. So they're paying almost as much for the survey as they did they would intend for the price of the land itself. So I question why that would happen, and perhaps somebody from the cemetery can explain that one. But apart from that, I don't really have any issues with this. Only the fact that whether or not that they will continue to sell lots is questionable also, because it is a very rural cemetery, and I don't know how much need the cemetery can perhaps shed light on this, how much inquiries they are getting regarding persons interested in purchasing lots for the future. But apart from that, that's about all I have on this.
Thank you, Len.
Okay,
Alicia?
I looked at the finances of the cemetery. Initially, it was not clear as to whether or not the cemetery had enough money to make this transaction. They have a special trust, which the restricted balance on the special trust is $97,000. The trust indicates that only the income can be used for the betterment of the cemetery. So I would say, getting more land is for the betterment of the cemetery, but only interest is available. So I ran the numbers and I was able to find approximately $12,000 available to complete this transaction, which would be enough, sufficient to pay for the land, the anticipated legal fees of $1,000, and then they had 2 appraisals done for $675. They already paid for the survey to the tune of $5,922.50. So that leaves a balance of $9,900 due to make this transaction happen. So if they have $12,713.85 available, that would leave them $2,800 and change available for them for future operations.
Which is
That's not a lot of money.
not a lot of money.
So, but they're anticipating that they're gonna sell some graves,
Yeah.
which they're not doing right now. So I guess we'll ask the folks here from the cemetery, as far as fundraising maybe for the future. Other concerns were that they consistently operate at a deficit. They're spending more money than they're taking in.
Rob, do you have anything to add? Just put it on the table before the board members speak.
Certainly, thank you, Mark. I did review the proposed contract. It is made contingent upon approval of this board, paragraph 5. As the division pointed out, based upon historical sales, the calculation is that it would take 650 years to utilize this space. And then I just want to point out that, for the purchase of land, the cemetery board considers the fair and reasonable market value. And also in the past, the cemetery board has considered the overall legislative purpose of Article 15, including whether or not the cemetery should be conducted on a not-for-profit basis for the mutual benefit of plot owners therein, general broad public policy purpose.
All right, and the issue of fair market value is that the price is in excess of the.
Historically, to look at that, the board has looked at real estate appraisals and oftentimes 2 appraisals, which are present here.
All right, so sorry to have our back to you.
All right.
Welcome to the New State Cemetery Board meeting, and thank you for making your way here from way out there.
Yeah,
Is,
half an hour drive or 35 minutes.
yeah. Who would like to address the board?
I could. I'm the president of the association, the Cemetery Association. I'm Wally Sheffer. In regards to the survey, he mentioned she wanted to do the survey, and we didn't have objections to that, not realizing that the whole area was going to be surveyed. So we kind of got that surprise. But, we said we do it, so, we're country people. So if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do something. So that was part of the deal. The other question was lots. We currently don't have any. As far as people requiring, we do have people inquiring about lots. How many, I don't know, but we do have requests, and the land is adjacent. It's a perfect situation for us. And the attorney mentioned 600 years. I heard it was 300 years that the thing would last, but it's going to outlast me. So I guess it really doesn't matter, because I think that's good. It's a local cemetery, and we can go in there between the 4 of us. We can probably tell you the families that are there, And that's why, I'm at least the third or fourth generation from my family that's been involved with the cemetery. It means something to us.
Yep.
And we just, if we gotta keep it going, we need money to do it, and by doing, we need lots to sell, and without that, it's gonna be difficult. We don't wanna turn it over to the town, because we pride ourselves on how well it looks. I mean, I just come by there yesterday, and it was just mowed again, and the thing looks gorgeous. And we, like I said, we take pride in keeping it that way, and we wanna continue to do that. Turn it over to the town, you and I both know it ain't gonna be handled as well as it is now.
Go ahead.
Lisa Bright, Secretary of the Warren Cemetery Board. I received a letter from the surveyor on August 26th, which I did send to Alicia, that they confirmed that they only surveyed the 3.29 acres of land, not the total approximately of 171.5 acres of land.
That was not entirely clear. The way the letter was stated, that they surveyed for the cemetery, but they didn't say they didn't survey the entire 171 acres.
Right, which we did go back, and then I sent to you, and your response was, I think that will do. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we need clarification on that from the surveyor. How many acres did he actually survey? Because prior applications of this type, this $6,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
To survey 3.29 acres.
Because it just says that they surveyed 3.29 plus or minus acres.
For the cemetery.
Yes. Okay. If we want further.
I guess the question is, did they survey the whole thing and then survey that for you, but you end up paying for her?
Now, I'm not sure that that's the case. This is actually the first I'd heard that. So I haven't asked the question. I know the surveyor that actually did the land. So, I mean, it's a simple call for me to call and ask. And then we can get verification. It was Clough Harbor, was it, huh?
No, but it was a.
Brian Briggs.
Oh, Andrew, yeah. So, I mean, it's a reputable company. It's not some fly-by-night.
Yeah, no, reputable.
So,
I'm not sure how material it is, because you've already done it and paid
Right.
for it.
it's kind
The
of water
question
over the dam.
is there an opportunity for you to save some money, or just to get clarification to go back to the seller or something? We're just brainstorming with you
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I mean,
We can do that investigation and find out if that's the
so
case.
again, I'm not sure it's material, it just seems like a lot of money
Yeah.
for but maybe there's something we don't know.
I haven't had anything surveyed in a long time. We run a dairy farm, and we haven't had anything surveyed in a long time. They're in the process of getting bids to survey the whole place, but we haven't got that far yet. So I have no idea what costs are for surveying.
Okay. Are there any other questions that people have for the
So without this land purchase, where do you see the cemeteries? You feel it's gonna be abandoned to the town?
If we don't have any more lots to sell, it's gonna be difficult to maintain where we're at. I mean, we'll do, what we have to do, I would think. Alicia talks about doing fundraisers and things, and maybe we resort to that. What we do every year is send out letters to anybody that has property there, or lots there, and donations. And last year, we got, I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000 or something. And we do that each and every year. But we haven't done like a fundraiser per se. I don't know.
Have you talked to the town, asked for assistance?
No, we have not.
don't want to?
The guy that runs the highway department's people are gonna do it. And everybody knows Paul. I mean, so maybe Lisa doesn't, but everybody else knows the guy that runs the thing. And those guys are busy enough with maintaining the roads without, taking care of the cemeteries. And they do mow some cemeteries, but it happens once a year and who knows when. And if that happened, the place would go to the dog pretty quickly.
I've heard towns are loaded with cash, they got no.
Yeah, the Pittstown, no, they ain't got cash.
I'm just making Dave crazy. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation?
The only thing I would like to add is, we'd rather go back to the town, the only thing you're gonna get is trees and brush. Once a year doesn't do it for the mowings. We pay for 6 or 7 mowings now a year, 5, sorry.
Yeah.
More if needed, and like Wally said, we're trying to maintain the cemetery, and I'm sure it'll be maintained in the future.
Yeah.
If we can't see it going backwards, and we need land to sell the lots for more revenue.
Right.
I don't know what else to say,
No, just to say, first of all, we really appreciate your service to the cemetery. It's God's work, and it's a lot of work, so we really appreciate that, and that's what keeps small rural cemeteries going, is volunteers like you, so thank you. And our goal is the same. We don't want it to go to the town. Part of our mission is to prevent things from going to it being abandoned in the town, but we're looking at the finances to try to see, how do we make sure that you can continue to do it. You got a very skinny operating amount of money, and you've lost some money over a couple of years, so that's of concern. And we talked about going to town and asking if they can help. That's just brainstorming with you.
Yeah.
To see if there's some, because towns are allowed to help. I mean, sometimes it's just running a plow through, or who knows what they can do or not do. And I agree with you that that's obviously something that you have a conversation
Now,
in your community. You know those people.
if it was in the town of Housing, which the farm is in, or we own property in Pittstown too, but my family's been involved with Housing politics for a long time, so I could probably knock on their door a lot easier like that Pittstown.
I'm not sure. Anyway, we appreciate that. We want your association to continue. And so we'll consider the information you've given. I don't know if anybody has any other questions to be raised. Okay, Rob, anything to add?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, and we understand this, the land is a unique opportunity to purchase.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually been trying to purchase this land for the last 15 or 20 years. I mean, maybe not 20, but it's been at least 10 or 15 years that we've been trying to persuade this owner to sell us the land. And no, for years and years and years. And finally said yes. So that's why we started the procedure.
Okay. So we've got the contract is fine, it says contingent on.
Contingent, yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the application for the purchase of land in the amount of $9,000, $8,000.
My match itself is $8,225. With anticipated legal fees of $1,000 and $675 already paid for.
Okay, so,
So total cost of the purchase, including the survey, legal fees, and appraisals would be $50,822.50.
So if you're gonna recommend approval, it ought to be total cost of the transaction, including, I would say, refer to the sale price, because you have to determine that it's in fact fair market value. And then also refer to the total cost of the transaction, which would be what Len said, the 15 grand number.
I'll make a motion to approve the property acquisition, land acquisition by the Warren Association, or Cemetery Association, for a purchase price of $225, and for a total purchase of $15,000, cost of purchase $15,820.50 to expend from the general fund, and including legal fees and the survey,
And
right?
appraisals.
And the appraisals. I get it about right? Okay, have a second?
I'll second.
And I'll add to that, again, our appreciation for the work of the volunteers of the Cemetery Association for their work. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ben, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
What is left?
City cremation.
City cremation.
So city cremations on July 21st, 2021, we proposed to impose a penalty of, how much was it? It doesn't matter how much it was because it has changed. The proposed penalty was $22,000 plus $100 per day for not providing us with reports. That comes to some very large sum. City Cremations responded with a letter that is not dated, that we received on August 19th, saying essentially, we asked our accountant to take care of these things, and Brendan Stanton should call before inspecting the crematory. We don't regard that as a response at all, but on September 2nd, we issued another letter asking them for information about their accountant and attorney who they plan to retain, and correspondence with the accountant. We've had no response to that letter. Our response was due September 17th. Failure to respond, that request was made pursuant to section 1508B of the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law, and failing to respond to that carries with it a penalty of $100 per day. Adding this all together, and in plain English, this crematory has basically not filed annual reports with us, with a few exceptions, for 8 years. And 7 years, sorry, and has been extremely. We have, by the way, since we last discussed the subject, we did get in to do an inspection. We found a little over 10% of the cremation authorizations to have problems with them. It's a slightly worse ratio than we'd like to see. It wasn't really off the charts bad. It wouldn't be unusual for that 10% to be bad. Mind you, I don't know what your experience is in this area, but down there, Mike and Brendan thought that wasn't, errors do occur, usually they're minor, their things look maybe a little worse than average, but not terrible. But we have these proposed penalties pending, and we had no response to our second letter, and largely a non-response to our first letter. So at this point, we're gonna ask the board to refer the matter to an administrative hearing. We don't get to impose penalties. They're entitled to a hearing on this, and we'd like to schedule a hearing to give them the opportunity to oppose the proposed penalties. And there were some discussions ongoing to resolve the matter, I want to say about a month ago. I haven't heard anything about that since. So if we are to take that into account, I suggest we schedule this out, the hearing, no more than 60 days, no less than 60 days for now, which also has the convenient effect of getting Rob back at work before it's scheduled.
The scheduling is going to be up to the Office of Administrative Hearings.
Sure, but I wouldn't want them to rush to schedule it. I'd like to give them, and the cemetery, and you, more than adequate time.
I think that's a detail we can.
Okay. So I guess what I'm asking, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm asking the board to do is to refer the matter to the Office of Administrative Hearings for a hearing on the proposed penalties. Both the penalties proposed in the July 21st letter and the penalties that result from non-compliance with the September 2nd letter. No?
I don't think we should add the.
Not the second one?
No, because our regulation gives them an opportunity to protest, and if we haven't provided them that opportunity, I have difficulty following the procedure to the administrative hearing stage. So I think we should keep it solely to what they knew that they were responding to in the letter that we received on August 19th.
Well, so in our September 2nd letter, we stated in so many words that any cemetery corporation failing to file any report required by this article shall forfeit to the people of the state the sum of $100 for each day that each report be delayed and withheld, except that the cemetery board may extend the time for filing any such report and may waive payment or any penalty or part thereof provided herein. I guess what you're saying is they haven't asked the board to waive that yet, so it's premature to send it out for a year.
Yes.
I don't think it really matters.
Okay, so what is the mechanism to make a referral?
So I think the board would motion, the division and working with council to refer to the Department of State Office of Administrative Hearings to schedule for an administrative hearing. I have the form, I can take care of that.
Okay, so I think pursuant to your guidance, I'll make a motion to refer the matter of city cremations to the Department of State Office of Administrative Hearings regarding their issue of noncompliance. And I think that's all I need to do. Right?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion referral carries.
So before we get to the public comment, I had the one add-on on Mount Olivet. They already responded. This is another one where we proposed a penalty. They already did provide us with a response saying, in essence, we're sorry, we'll fix that. We weren't particularly satisfied with that response, but more importantly, they hired an audit firm to review the transactions that we substantively found problematic, in addition to, which frankly troubled us more than their failure to file reports, which wasn't quite as pervasive as at city cremations. That report was supposed to be done in the early September. I've been in touch periodically with the auditors. They were, as the last time I spoke to them, which is about 10 days ago, they were missing one number, and we're just about done with their report. They need to share it with the cemetery's board first, and we also think it's appropriate for the cemetery's board to be given the first opportunity to take action that might be appropriate as a result of whatever the report says. Which is a long-winded way of saying we're asking them to extend the cemetery's time to further respond to our notice of proposed penalty until November 30th.
Okay. Rob, if the board takes action to do that, you think that's sufficient?
I think the board should add the matter to the agenda. It sounds like
Okay.
the board was not in a position to know that it should be on the agenda.
I didn't know we wouldn't have a report by then.
All right, so let me say, I'll make a motion to add to the cemetery agenda the agenda item of extending the time to respond for Mount Olivet Cemetery to our demand for documentation, right?
No, we're adding to their time. They've given us all the documents we've asked for so far. What we're extending is their time to supplement their objection to our notice of proposed penalty.
So it's modified. This is the issue first about whether it's on the agenda or not. That's the first
That part
question.
was fine.
But on the issue that would be put on the agenda is a question about whether to extend the time for their ability to provide a report from their auditor to further supplement their response.
I think the agenda item is just Mount Olivet notice of proposed penalty.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Anything to add? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The issue is put on the agenda for this board meeting. You have already explained what we're looking to do is extend the time to November 30th.
For them to further object or supplement their objection to the proposed penalty.
So I'll make a motion that we extend the cemetery's time to object to our penalties to November 30th so that we can get the receipt of the auditor's report. Which will further explain that. So
I'll second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Issue is added to the agenda and their time frame is extended. All right, is there anything else you want to say, Louis, about special meetings or?
So we talked about the possibility of having a special meeting. It's not clear whether we will. There were two things. The main thing we were trying to get done is we have received, I think 6 or 7, I've lost track, applications for approvals of mergers of non-contiguous cemeteries from Forest Lawn. We've gone back and forth in Buffalo and the 6 or 7 other cemeteries. We've gone back and forth with them. We've gotten supplemental information. I'm still not sure we have 100% of what we need. There's nothing else that we've asked them for, but we may need further clarification as we write them up. I was hoping to have them written up in time to have the matter considered for a special meeting on like the 25th or 26th of October. However, that's getting very close to when Rob's going to be out, so it may not actually get us this matter heard any sooner than it would if he ends up being unavailable at the last minute. So while I'd like to know whether you guys are available those 2 days, I don't want to schedule a meeting now. My plan would be to have them written up for the regular November meeting, and if our able substitute counsel feels that I want to defer to your regular guy on this, then we'll have to put it over. If he's able to handle it, then great. But we'd have to have them done like tomorrow, and they're not going to be done tomorrow.
Okay, well, so thank you. And all I would say is, one, we certainly want to review these applications with all due deliberate speed, but it is our first foray, and so we also want to make sure we are doing it, covering all the issues that we need to cover, things that we might not cover quite as assiduously as things become more routine, but just to make sure we got it right going out the gate. So again, I would say, Louis, if you can get it scheduled, great, but if you can't, I understand that issue, and we'll have to communicate with Forest Lawn, make sure we understand what their issues are with that.
I mean, at this point, the ball is in our court to draft a recommendation. I think the only way we're going to see what we're still missing from what they've given us is when we actually write up the draft recommendations and we say, oh, now I realize I need X or Y.
Yeah, I get it. So we're just discussing this in public so that Forest Lawn and others know where we are with their applications, but also just in terms of non-contiguous mergers and that kind of thing, make sure that's all, that we get it right.
I mean,
So
some of the smaller cemeteries may be getting close to the end of their
That's-
rope in terms of.
that's my
availability
point.
of
So
funds.
we want to do it
You're
with all
mindful of
deliberate
that.
speed, but we also want to get it right. So we'll do what we can, and we'll work with what we have. Okay, so the next, if there's no more, Louis, next New York State Cemetery Board meeting is scheduled for November 9th, 2021. And now we can move to public comment. So is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board on matters before the board or any other matter that is of interest? Someone want to speak?
Since everyone's looking. David Fleming, New York State Association of Cemeteries. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of comments that were made earlier on the forms, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for soliciting additional input on forms once they're getting used and the cemeteries are able to utilize them. We really appreciate that, as we do with the comment period on the abandoned cemetery regulations, which we'll be getting back to you shortly. Well, getting back through the SAPA process anyway. So thank you on that, and the partnership with the division is extremely obviously helpful to our members. Today we have a cremation training program in Albany, and so we have all of our crematories that are up for certification. That's going on with participation from Department of State, so thank you for that as well. And just to follow up on a previous comment that was made in regard to Warren Cemetery, but also it applies to all the cemeteries that you've been talking about today, and as we're talking about cemeteries that are coming up for applications in the future. NYSAC strongly believes, as we've said many times, that cemeteries are best run by cemeteries, and I appreciate your acknowledgement of that. The challenges localities face in these uncertain times puts them in a position that they will not adequately care for these cemeteries the way that the board members who are deeply involved and committed to these cemeteries will move forward with multi-generational efforts to preserve and protect this important part of the community. So thank you for acknowledging that, and I just wanted to state again NYSAC's position, which is we should continue to have these cemeteries operated as nonprofit cemeteries by cemetery towns.
Share the goal.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Anybody else wishing to address the board on a matter of interest?
We have nothing that needs to go into executive session.
I was guessing that, but thank you. Okay, so I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Oh, yeah. Good for you. I made the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Motion carried.